Hello. And it's about the way that we psychologically and physically approach making a drawing. There's a pencil, there's a sharpener, and there's a rubber on your easel. You need to come and gather a piece of paper, a bit of masking tape, and place it on the easel, which is comfortable for you. And then I'm going to first of all do what we call an untutored drawing. So I'm not going to say anything at all for about 10 minutes and let you have a go at trying to do what you would, how a drawing would come to you naturally. Okay. Now there's a lot of people with a lot of experience, so don't be intimidated by the fact that you've not got any experience. Just do what you can do, and then we're all going to be put on a level playing field by the way we approach the drawing, and that's the breaking down preconceptions.
There's dancing behind movie scenes, behind the movie scenes. Sagirani, she's the one that keeps the dream alive from the morning past the evening to the end of the light. Brimful of Asher on the 45, well it's a brimful of Asher on the 45. Brimful of Asher on the 45, well it's a brim.
How did you manifest this drawing when you were using the pencil? What was it that you used to describe what you were seeing?
I was trying to draw the outline of the body parts in
Yeah.
proportion.
You get a
Yeah.
point for this lady here. What was your name again?
Michelle.
Michelle gets a
Michelle.
point.
Yeah.
She used the word, I mean, you've all done it. You've used the line. Okay? So what were your aims and objectives when you were using that line?
To get the shape
Get the shape.
of the body first.
Were you trying to get something that looked like what you were drawing?
Yeah.
Yeah. What it happens is that you get this idea that you're trying to create exactly what you see by using this idea of line, okay? And an actual fact, line doesn't exist. There's not a line around the body. There's an edge of a form, but there's not a line around the body, so line doesn't exist. So we're going to be using line tonight as a metaphor to try and describe what we see. We're trying to describe not necessarily the shape, but the idea of the form. But what we're going to do is we're going to break down our preconceptions and how we approach the drawing, because what we tend to do is we tend to get fixed in a way that we pick the pencil up, the way that we stand or sit, the way that we hold our arm, the way that we make the mark. It's ingrained in us, and I want to try and break that out so you can become more creative. So, using line tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to, first drawing we're going to do is what we call a hand-eye reliance drawing. Does anybody know what I mean by hand-eye reliance?
See where you don't look at the paper,
But what?
where you don't look at it.
You don't look at it. So, here's an example of a hand-eye reliance drawing. Okay. What's the difference between this drawing and probably your drawings that, as beginners? I'm talking more or less to the beginners tonight, not the people who've been here years and years. What's the difference between this drawing and your beginner's drawing, do you think?
And it's not a true likeness.
No, it's not a true likeness, but it's an expression of what you see, isn't it? You can still see that that's a head,
Yeah.
can't you?
Yeah.
And there's a certain sort of freedom and a fluidity to it, isn't there? Rather than this taut, tense, tight sort of this mark making, which is God, I've got to get it right. There's a sort of more of a creative sort of expressive nature to the drawing, isn't it? What does that do to you?
Relaxation.
Yeah, point for that lady there. Are you keeping score? It makes you relax, doesn't it? Because the responsibility now is taken away because you know you can't make the accurate drawing that you want to. So it allows you a certain amount of expressive freedom, doesn't it? You see what I mean? And it's that expressive freedom as artists that we should be exploring rather than necessarily this tight, accurate drawing. As beginners, let's get freer and let's be open about it until we get more confident in terms of producing that drawing which has a stronger, more proportional, and all the things that you were saying. Starting with an open mind, first of all, to sort of gradually get down to something which is more concentrated in a way. Puts everybody on a level playing field, because those people that have got experience are as blind as those people that don't have any experience when they're doing this drawing. Now, I'm going to start off, and I don't look at the drawing. And I usually start, as a good place to start, is with the eye. So I talk myself to the drawing. I say, well, here we go, I've got the eye, which comes around here. And I'm trying to pick up the idea of the form of the picture as I'm doing it. Now that comes over there with the eyebrow. It comes down the bridge of the nose, it goes underneath here, it comes up and over, gives me that nostril, which comes down what's called the fulcrum, which gives me where the lip is, which comes underneath that lip there, then down the bottom lip here. Then I've got the idea of the jaw, which is coming there, and then it comes up and around. Then there's a part of the neck which comes down here like this. And then I pick up with the idea of the clavicle going down there, and then what I've got here is where the shoulder is, that's called the deltoid, coming up there, and then that comes back up like that. Now I'm going to stop now. Okay? So that's the first part of the drawing, there's a line, okay? So now here's the other eye coming there like so. This is coming down here like this. It's coming down a shadow there, and then it picks up that part there where, I can't remember what that's called. Then I'm picking the cheekbone up, and the side of the head here, there's a plane with the side of the head there where the jaw is, which comes down like so. And then again this line comes down, it picks up the idea of a part of the muscle here, which again picks up the clavicle, which then comes down here to the chest, and then that goes down there and it picks up the nipple. Can you see? Here. I'm going to pick that up there, and then I'm going to come over and pick the other side of that up there. Then the ear comes there, and then that comes down this side of the jaw now. You see that? Strange, isn't it? Really weird. And there's a little few sort of like bits of Louis' afro sort of air coming down there, and that comes over here, and then it comes there, and then there's a bit more that comes down, that comes down there. Funny, it actually starts to resemble him, doesn't it, in a funny sort of way, doesn't it? You know, and look how expansive the drawing is. It's not small, it's not, you know, it's a nice big sort of head. Okay, let's go and do that for 5 minutes.
And dancing behind movie scenes, behind those movie screens. Asha Bosley, she's the one that keeps the dream alive, from the morning past the evening to the end of the light.
What you've got is a freedom. You've allowed yourself a freedom and an expression to be more lyrical and more sort of expansive with the drawing, and allow it to go and develop. And when you look at it and you see what you've done as each individuals, you see, blimey, that's quite good, that is, and quite interesting, that is. Rather than having the pressure of creating a drawing in a very traditional way, which shouldn't be a yardstick by which we're all measured by, because we're all creative individuals, we're not all the same. The next drawing that we're going to be doing is a continuous line drawing, okay? And it being a continuous line drawing, I want you not to try and work on the outline of the form, but to try and pick up the form that you can try and see in the head. Because the head has a certain front fascia and side fascias, and you can see how it can be picked up by shapes which happen within that, and where planes of the form of the head change, like a front fascia and a side fascia. So there's a line that would go there to describe that idea of that form. So it's an internal line, which is a continuous line. So here are some sort of examples of that. Can you see? And you'll see that. And it's a roving line. A line, have you ever heard the expression, let the line, go take the line for a walk? And this is what this is doing. Well, it's taking the line for a walk with a purpose and trying to describe the mass of the form. It's almost as though these drawings are made out of wire. Look at a nice strong one. Look. Can you see how these lines are picking up the mass and the form internally?
Leave the pen on the paper.
You keep all the time. You can't take your pen off the paper all the time. You're keeping the pen on the paper all the time. A metaphor. It's not reality. Here we have the last one. Okay, this, and then coming down like this, and then again, do you see how I talk the drawing to myself? That's a good idea to actually, there's this massive plane here where you get the idea where that jaw is, coming there, and then where the idea of the eye is. Notice that I try not to go back on my line like this. I'm taking the line on a journey. It doesn't go back on itself. And then out here comes out here. Then I've got here. Then I've got the nature of the way that the hair is performing out here. And then that comes over, and then I've got something like so. And then some more curly hair coming here like this. And then the hair coming in like this. And then pick up a slight bit of the ear there. And then it comes down again. The other side of the jaw, which is coming down like this, the mass of that jaw, which is like that. And we've got the sarcophagus there, and then we come down here, we've got the other part of the neck, that comes down here, and this seems to come down like so. Can you see that? Mm-hmm. There, and the mouth there. And it's flat. It's totally flat. Because there's no internal drawing of what is happening, where the forms actually pick up the idea of the mass and the form. So if we did this with this, we now have the front fascia and the side fascia. Did you see how that gives it form? Okay. So that line which is going on the journey, which is finding that internal form until it comes and finds the outline.
Brim full of Asher on the 45. Well, it's a brim full of Asher on the 45. Brim full of Asher on the 45. Well, it's a brim full of Asher on the 45. Everybody needs a bosom for a pillow. Everybody needs a bosom. Everybody needs a bosom for a pillow. Everybody needs a bosom. Everybody needs a bosom for a pillow. Everybody needs a bosom. Mine's on the 45. Mohammed Rafi, 45. Lata Mangeshkar, 45. Solid State Radio, 45.
A few more minutes at this area. It's ingrained in it. Have to do.
Pick up the pencil.
She's good, isn't she?
It's the, must be being literal, we're 5
I've got another mark now. It's under the shell. It's under the
First you pick up the pencil.
Yeah, you pick up your pencil, don't you? So how do you pick up your pencil, and what do you pick up your pencil? Sort of ingrained as an ingrained habit. You pick it up with your favoured hand, don't you? And that immediately sets into motion some sort of connection between this hand and your brain with our non-dominant hand. But also a continuous line, exactly the same, trying to follow and feel the form and see how you go using your non-dominant hand. So if you're right-handed, you use your left hand. If you're left-handed, you use your right hand. It might be appropriate that you just turn your easel like I've done for Bronwyn, so as you could get a view of what
More public. 45. Jack too drunk and the bowling boogie, the heavy hitters and the chi-chi music, all in your radio. 45. 2-in-1s. 45. Argo Records. 45. Trojan Records. 45.
Wordsworth, or a poet like Wordsworth in Ambleside, and I wrote a poem like this. I'm sat in a field under a tree, and under that tree there's 25 sheep in the field, and around the field there's a stone wall, and at the bottom of the field there's a 5-bar gate, and on that 5-bar gate lies a farmer, and at the foot of the farmer is a dog named Spot. That's my poem. What sort of poem is that? Do you think that's a good poem or a bad poem?
Rubbish.
It's a rubbish poem, isn't it? Because it's like what you were trying to do in your first drawing. It's a literal, trying to be a literal description. Whereas what we've got here in these drawings that we've been doing is real poetry, like I wander lonely as a cloud. And however that further goes, I forgot how it goes further. Do you see what I mean? That's describing the scene, which is metaphor. And that's what we're using here, is line as a metaphor to describe what we're seeing, rather than a literal interpretation as what you tried to produce in your first drawing. That should make it a bit more clearer for you. That's the essence of what we're trying to do here, is create visual poetry, but with a concept of idea of creating the mass and form that we're seeing in an expressive way. Oh, you went, are you? Put another point down. Very good, Michelle. It's the way that you hold it. It's another ingrained habit, isn't it? Which controls the idea. Even with your left hand, you still would hold it in the same sort of way. So you've got another ingrained habit which I want to try and break. So this time, you're using, just holding the pen like this. If you can do that with the pen, you're holding it. If you do this, that's the way it should be. So it's resting, not being held. Okay? So it's resting. If you do your fingers like that, that's holding it. It's resting. Okay? So then we make the drawing. Can you strike that pose again for us, Louis? The same one.
Asher on the 45. Well, it's a brim full of Asher on the 45. Brim full of Asher on the 45. Well, it's a brim full of Asher on the 45. Everybody needs a bosom for a pillow. Everybody needs a bosom. Everybody needs a bosom for a pillow.
And that slips and slides over the picture plane becomes another lovely visual metaphor for what you're drawing, but in a very, very different way, because the line that you draw with when you're holding it has a strength to it and a directional strength, but this is slipping and it's sliding. But with that slipping and the sliding, you're getting the idea of the different nature of the drawing. Lovely. Beautiful.
Everybody needs a bosom for a pillow. Everybody needs a bosom. Mine's on the 45.
Just a few squiggles.
77,000 piece orchestra set. Everybody needs a bosom.
As a summing up, Helen has not drawn an eye. Helen has not drawn an hand. Helen has not drawn a head. She's made a series of marks, hasn't she? But all those marks as a visual piece of poetry, as we were talking, add up to a beautiful drawing. Look at that, for it says hand. How much better can you say hand than that? It's lovely, isn't it? And look at that head. It's gorgeous, isn't it? But it's not a literal interpretation, which can be, in actual fact, quite boring, because everybody's doing the same. What's this? Oh, I thought you were signalling something. That means pack up. It's film, it's in the film industry, you know. But it's beautiful, isn't it? Do you understand? If you can get that into your head, you're on a winner, because you're not then strapped in by this idea of it being, you've got to make this photograph, oh, you crap. You're not. Fantastic drawing, Hal. Really. Did you like that?
I did, I loved it.
Was that nice?
Yeah, thank you for
Was that
saying
really
that.
expressive?
Yeah.
I bet you're better than that idiot on telly.